Hare Krishna. We begin by chanting Jai Radhama. Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vara Dhari Jai Jai Gopi Janavallabha Giri Vara Dhari Jai Yasodanandana Braja Jana Anjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Anjana Jamuna Tira Vana Chahariyam Yamuna Tira Vana Chahariyam Hey Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivara Dhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivara Dhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Anjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Anjana Jamuna Tira Vana Chahariyam Yamuna Tira Vana Chahariyam Jai Radha Vrindavan Chandra Radha Vrindavan Chandra Shri Radhe Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada Nithai Gaur Haribha 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 Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So I was requested to complete the remainder of the verse describing the 9 angas of bhakti. We had gotten through 6 of them. 3 are remaining: dasyam, sakhyam, and Atmanivedanam. So I'll read the verse, and then we can go on to describing these last 3. Shri Parada Uvacha Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Bhadasevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam Iti Pumsarpitam Vishnu Bhaktis Chenavalakshana Kriyate Bhagavadyada Tanmanye Dititam Uttamam. Prahlad Maharaj says, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming His servant, considering the Lord as one best friend, and surrendering everything to Him. In other words, serving Him with body, mind, and words. These 9 prasas are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life in the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Have most of you been to the other classes? Is there anyone here that hasn't been to any of the classes? Everybody's been to some of the previous classes, right? Okay. So this is a description by Prahlad Maharaj of the 9 processes of devotional service, and Srila Prabhupada's explanation covers each one by one. We have completed 6 within the last 6 days, and today we'll finish up with the last 3. And the next one is dasyam. We did shravanam, hearing, kirtanam, chanting, smarnam, remembering, padasevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, archanam, worshipping the Lord in His deity form, and vandanam, offering prayers to the Lord. So now the 7th one is dasyam. And Prabhupada's purport. There is the following statements regarding to assist the Lord as the servant. After many, many thousands of births, when one comes to understand that he is the eternal servant of Krishna, one can deliver others from this universe. If one simply continues to think that he is the eternal servant of Krishna, even without performing any other processes of devotional service, he can attain full success, for simply by this feeling one can perform all 9 processes of devotional service. Umgyantimidandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gauda Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Now Prabhupada gives a very direct and succinct explanation of this principle of dasyam. Dasyam is the activity of the living being. Even in the material world, we're a servant. We serve our family, we serve our society, sometimes we serve the country, we serve different ways at different times, and we serve Sometimes when we don't have anything directly to serve, there's people who are not connected to anything. They get a pet dog or a pet frog or some pet, and they serve that. So service cannot be taken away from the living entity because it's our nature to serve. Even when we're in a position of leadership, we're serving in that position of leadership. The politician serving his constituents, who are his followers. The father, who's the head of the family, is serving the family. But he's still, even though he's the head of the family, he's still serving the family. So in all capacities of relationship, service goes on in different ways. But when that service attitude is directed towards the Supreme Lord, which is the source of where that service attitude originates from, then that service attitude brings one closer to eternal life. In other words, to Krishna consciousness. So it says here that simply by engaging in various types of activities or devotional service, we have to understand that in the spiritual realm, it's not service, it's devotional service. Service is to carry out some activity, but devotional service is something that is connected to the object of our affection, or Krishna, or the object of our goal in life, Krishna. So it's called service with devotion, and not just service. And there are different ways that one can serve. One can serve in the capacity of speaking about Krishna. One can speak in the capacity of hearing about Krishna. One can serve in the capacity of remembering Krishna. One can serve in all of the other 8 processes of devotional service in different ways, but the principle of service remains as foremost. We cannot be anything but a servant. Either we serve either the material energy or ultimately for our own benefit and for our upliftment and Krishna consciousness, we serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or we serve Him by serving those, especially His representative, the Spiritual Master. And then that service goes to Krishna through the guidance of the bona fide Spiritual Master, who is a representative of Krishna. So to serve is life. Sometimes even a person has nothing to serve, he serves his mind, he serves his body. So these things are separate from our existence, but a part of our existence at the same time. Therefore, service is always there. We are servant. But then again, from the spiritual perspective, we are Jiver Sarupai Krishnera Nityadas. We are eternally servant of the Absolute Truth Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This statement is given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So service goes on in different ways, and as Srila Prabhupada says, simply by continuing to think that one is an eternal servant and to act in that way, by engaging in service to the Lord, one can attain success in all processes of bhakti. Some people like to come to spiritual life, but they don't like to do service. They simply want to enjoy spiritual life, take part in the festivals, or do some chanting, some reading like that. But when it comes to doing activities, they're not so much inclined to it because they're either too busy in the material world doing service, or they don't see the need for doing it. But actually, Srila Prabhupada said, I wrote every one of my books and every one of my purports to teach the living entities that you are a servant. You are nothing but a servant, and you have to understand that in a practical way by performing different activities to please. I mean, when we speak about this, in certain areas people can accept very easily. But in other areas of the world it becomes very hard for them to accept. Why should I serve the Lord? He has everything. What can I give Him through my service? Say, think like that He has no need. He's God. He provides all of our needs. What can we give Him by our service? So why even serve? It's like thinking, well, because the Lord has no need, I don't have to do anything. That's some idea which is more or less a way of not doing anything and using that as an excuse for not doing anything. Prabhupada tells the story of the young boy. He's going for examination. So he's going to the university, and he tells his father, I'm going for the examination today. So he leaves. After completing, comes back. His father said, how did you do on the examination? He said, well, there were some questions I didn't know, so I didn't answer. And the questions I knew, what was the use of answering? Because I knew. So I didn't do anything. So there are people like that. What's the use of doing anything, because everything is done anyway? And if God needs someone to serve, there are so many people to serve. What's important about my service? But therefore, it's understood that the benefit of the service is for the server and not for the object of the server. In this case, in the material world, both people get something, the person who is served and the person who is serving. But in the spiritual realm, Krishna doesn't need our service, but we need to serve, because that connects us with Him. He says, only by undivided devotional service can I be known, standing before you and thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you understand the mysteries of my understanding. So you can know the Lord through the process of service. And service, when it's done to please the Lord, the Lord is happy and He reveals Himself through your service. So we gain knowledge of the Lord, we understand our relationship with the Lord, and we also can perfect our life simply by the mood of service. So there's some devotees who like to serve, they'll do anything to serve, and there's others who like to serve in a certain way. Just like the demigods. The demigods are great devotees of the Lord. They have great devotion for the Lord. But they're not pure servants. Why? Because they want to be demigods. They want to serve as demigods, so they have this big position as a universal controller where they have a lot of influence and a lot of control, and they also have followers. So they're very much attached to service and to the Lord also in service, but in a particular way. But then there's others who will accept whatever service is required, and that's higher. That's higher. So, but in either case, even if you have a certain desire to serve in a certain way, it's not unacceptable, but it's not the highest. The highest is to serve in whatever way that you're asked to serve. Because sometimes if we're attached to a certain type of service, we do that service with the idea of enjoying the service. But to break that ego of I getting something from the service, sometimes the spiritual master will give you a service that is different, that's something hard to perform, or something that is somewhat not resonating with your nature, not in line with your nature. Just to teach you that beyond all of these desires to serve is unalloyed service, or that service which has no particular motivation, just to serve for the sake of pleasing the object of service. So this is a little bit about the principle of service. So any questions or comments about service before we go on to the next characteristic? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So in today's class, you were discussing about there are two types of people, one who likes to do service and one who likes to do seva. Sorry, one who likes to do service and one who likes to do sadhana. So if one is sadhana oriented, then how he can cultivate the mood of service?
Well, if he's performing sadhana properly, that means if he's in the right mood in his service, sadhana, the desire for service will also arise automatically. Because they're connected. The process is sadhana, service, and sadhya. Sadhya means goal. So the goal of hearing and chanting, or sadhana, is to serve, and combine those two is the goal is sadhya, or the goal is to reach, pure devotional service or purified consciousness. If there are people who do sadhana but not in the right mood. They do it just because they think, it's fun, or I can get something out of it. There's people who chant and they get some ideas based on their chanting and how to improve their material life. Because the holy name will also work to facilitate your material desires. But that you don't get Krishna, and you don't get purification of heart. You simply get what is called bhakti, or which is material success. But that's not real chanting. That's using the holy name for. But because there's chanting, there is always some benefit in chanting, because it includes everything. But that kind of chanting we reject. We reject those who approach the holy name in the mood of offering that holy name as a service to the Lord, to please the Lord. Just like when you worship the Ganga, how do you worship the Ganga? You take Ganges water, and then you pour the water back into the Ganges while you're offering prayers to the Ganges. So the prayer is the offering, the water is the means, but to show some type of, expression of offering. So something has to be offered. So when we're chanting, we're offering Krishna his name back, but this time with devotion, with attention, with a desire to please the Lord, and with the desire also to become purified through that chanting. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So there's different, like that. But there's people who don't want to. I know devotees in the West, they've been around for 30 years, they're not initiated yet. They hang around the temple, they'll go to the kirtans, they always show up when prasadam is there. And they like to hang out with the devotees, but they don't want to do any service, and they don't make really any spiritual advancement, but they get some mercy because they're connected with the spiritual energy in some way, that's all. But they're wasting their time, because they could actually make progress towards the goal of life if they would take the process as the way the process is given. If we change the process or do the process the way we want to do it, the process will not give us the result. Yeah. Question in the back? Yes. All the way in the back.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Maharaj, you were mentioning about this point of some devotees who just like to do more chanting and reading and not much services.
Not even so much reading, they like chanting, they like kirtan.
Yeah, but there are sometimes some devotees like this also, like they are more into reading and chanting, but not into much services.
Yeah.
And they might be doing in the right mood, as you are telling, offering.
There's many who do kirtan, but they don't do japa.
Yeah,
they're kirtan monsters, that's all. They like kirtan, and they go to the kirtans and hang out with the devotees, and they're always there for prasad. But they don't take it, they don't chant japa, because they...
Yeah, but I'm talking about different kind of devotees. Maharaj, like they are doing more japa, not just here singing the kirtans. They are more into chanting more rounds and reading the shastras, but not doing much services.
Well, as long as they're doing some service. Just like there was one boy, he knew the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart. He knew every verse by heart. And so he impressed the devotees. So the devotees wanted to, get him to meet Prabhupada. So this one devotee brought him to Prabhupada, and he's speaking to Prabhupada, he's pointing to this devotee. Prabhupada, this devotee knows the whole Bhagavad Gita by heart. He could recite any verse. Prabhupada didn't even look at him. He talked to the devotee, he says, is there any service he can do? That was Prabhupada's response. Because the words of the scriptures teach you surrender. And if you actually memorize, but you don't understand, what is the use? Parrots can memorize also. You can tell a parrot, chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, it'll do that. But when a cat comes, cat, cat, cat. So when death comes, what will they do? Because they have no understanding of anything. So to engage in service is the happiness that devotee receives in Krishna consciousness. We like to serve because service connects us with Krishna, service pleases Krishna, and service benefits everyone. The server and all of those who are being served also. Service is our nature. So there are devotees who are inclined more to hearing and chanting, but still they do service. And there's still devotees who do a lot of service and still do hearing and chanting. So the balance may not be equal, but still you need both. You can't just emphasize one without the other. If you simply do service and you don't hear and chant, after a while your service will be like work and it'll become more like a burden. And if you just hear and chant, that's all you do, then you're really not understanding. When you're chanting, what are you saying? My dear Lord, please engage me in your service. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's explanation of chanting the holy name. We're asking for service. So we want to serve. Mm-hmm.
So Maharaj, those who are more into chanting, so like as you mentioned that the meaning of the mantra is engage me, please engage me in your service. We are praying that.
Yeah.
So how to understand at sadhaka level, some are more into more chanting, but not practical services.
But then there is another feature of this understanding is that those who are purified through hearing and chanting and service come to the platform of just hearing and chanting. That's all they do. But that's a purified stage. That's on the topmost stage of devotion. You can't just automatically come to that stage simply by hearing and chanting. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati calls it kaitavo. Kaitavo means cheating. Trying to make a show out of hearing and chanting like that. He says you'll simply think about material life, that's all when you're... So the service helps us develop the qualities of a devotee, such as detachment, humility, tolerance. Many of the qualities of the mode of goodness come by way of executing devotional service. You can chant and still become very arrogant, thinking that you're a great devotee because you're chanting. But you're not really chanting because Krishna is saying, do something. The spiritual master is saying, what are you doing? Shrutakirti, who spent so much time with Prabhupada, he would always say when Prabhupada would meet a devotee, Prabhupada would ask him, what service are you doing? What is your service? He didn't ask him how many rounds he's chanting or how much he knows about Bhagavatam. He say, always ask him, what service are you doing?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Harish, Maharaj, you said that service is not just, it should be devotion. So devotional service. So many times we hear...
Service with devotion, with love, with affection, with concern, with a desire to please. Rupa Goswami explains that is characteristic of service is to please the object of your service and not just do something. We can do something to get it done, but that also is considered to be service, but actually devotional service is to think how to offer it in the best possible way, where Krishna will be pleased and the devotees will be benefited. So we think, not only when we are doing a service, how can I do this service in the way that will be very pleasing to Krishna? So to desire to please Krishna is pleasing Krishna. If you desire to please the Lord, that is as good as pleasing the Lord. And then from that desire, you do your best to offer that service. I want to please you, my dear Lord, so I'm going to do this service in that mood.
So sometimes Prabhupada says loving devotional service. Loving devotional service.
Loving, yeah, because that's our relationship ultimately with Krishna. Prema Pumartha Mahan. That is the goal of devotional service, is to awaken our natural love for Krishna. Love for Krishna is natural. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Saruka Bonoi Sravanadi Siddhi Chitte Kodi E Udoi. In the hearts of all living entities, pure love for Krishna is there. It doesn't have to be brought in from the outside. It's not created simply by activities. It simply has to be uncovered, and the process of bhakti cuts away the coverings where the love starts to appear. So to love Krishna is natural. Natural means nature, and that's our nature. We're trying to find love in this world. So we see people are trying to establish loving relationships in this world. That shows that it's natural. But with Krishna, it is natural because we have that loving relationship because we are part of Him. We are not distinct from Him. That love is there. It's eternal. It just has to be awakened.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So during chanting, our organs are also acting for the service of Lord. So my question, during chanting, our tongue is, or ears are working for a Supreme Personality of Lord. So my question is that chanting comes under service or sadhana?
Chanting generally comes under sadhana, but it's also a form of service. It's categorized in both ways because chanting covers everything. It's the Yuga Dharma. But when you put it into categories, we categorize it as sadhana. But there's devotees who travel around the world who simply do kirtan wherever they are. So for them, chanting is their seva.
As per our situation, we have to keep our attitude toward. As per the situation, we have to keep our attitude of doing sadhana or service regarding the holy name.
Can you turn up the volume a little? Just slightly.
So as per the situation, we have to keep our attitude towards the holy name. It is service or sadhana.
You should serve the holy name. The holy name is Krishna. When we approach Krishna with the idea of serving Krishna. So the mood is to serve Krishna by serving the holy name, by chanting nicely and offering that service to Him. That's the mood of chanting.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
But if you're chanting to get purified in heart, that is also acceptable. If you're chanting just to get your rounds done, then you'll get your rounds done, but that's all. You won't get much more than that.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay. Yes.
Maharaj, I have a question that generally serving devotees, like it's very easy, or I would say we can get our mind very easily to serve when serving senior devotees. But how do we serve the devotees which are below our age or are new, just have come to Krishna consciousness? So what should be the mood and how one can serve them basically?
Do we have the fourth canto of Bhagavatam here? Anywhere? Or maybe the Veda base? Or if you have it on your phone, does somebody have it on their phone? Fourth canto, 8th chapter, verse number 34, 4:8:34. Which answers your question directly here, 4:8:34. So this is spoken by Narada Muni. I won't read the Sanskrit, I'll just read the translation. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Prabhupada's purport. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. The great sage Narada therefore advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him just to raise him to the proper standard. And one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. So this is the whole principle of relation. Equal, superior, inferior. For inferiors, it's called doya. Doya means mercy. Showing mercy to those who are in a lesser position by giving them something that will raise them to a better standard where he can come closer to Krishna in devotional service. That's called doya, or mercy. Showing mercy to the less, being friendly to those who are equal, and being happy and eager to hear from those who are more qualified. Yeah, so these are the three ways. Okay, that's from the Bhagavatam, that's from Narada Muni.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay, should we go on to the next one, or is there any more questions on dasyam? Yes. Yeah. This microphone is not so strong, so speak a little bit loud.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for your wonderful and encouraging class. I have a question that when we do so much of sevas, so we get appreciation from our seniors, and thus pride follows and our fall downs begins. So how to protect ourselves from this pride, be it for Bhakti Lata?
Well, if you become proud, you're not going to fall down right away. But if you keep the pride, then that's a problem. So when you get, some credit, some glorification from your seniors or others, you should say, well, all glories to my spiritual master, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. By their mercy, I was able to do something. So if we keep it, then pride will develop. But if we pass it on, then that's the mood of a devotee, to give credit to Krishna, to the spiritual master, to the assembly of the devotees. And that's correct, because actually when we do something, it takes more than just myself to do something. There's the intelligence to do that. Where's the intelligence coming from? Krishna. There is the facilities to do it with. That comes from the outside. There is the time and place which are arranged by circumstance. So we are just a small part of the activities. So you won't fall down immediately if you feel proud, but if you keep it, and then you act on it, it'll come out in the form of your activities and your speech. And then you're in a difficult situation.
Yes. And Maharaj, which is the powerful way to attract Krishna mercy? Is it service or sadhana? Which is the powerful way to attract Krishna mercy? Is it sadhana or seva?
Krishna is attracted by devotion. So if there's devotion in sadhana, that attracts him. And if there's devotion in seva, that attracts him. Whatever there's devotion, he says, only by devotion am I, available. He is Bhaktavatsal. He's not Jnanavatsal, Yogavatsal, Karmavatsal. He's Bhaktavatsal. So, Bhakti attracts him.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Thank you. Okay, nice questions. Yeah, there was another question there. I saw another hand on the men's side. No more? Okay, they gave up. Yeah, okay, again in the back there, one more question. We can go on to the next one, which is sakhyam. Yeah.
Maharaj, regarding service, there are certain aparadhs called seva aparadh. So, would you like to explain some?
What is seva aparadh?
Yeah, there are different kinds. Just like we have many aparadhs for deity worship. So, some things for seva aparadh, you can explain that.
To do your service in a begrudging way, to do your service in a whimsical way, begrudgingly, whimsically, not following the instructions of the spiritual master when you're doing your service. These all are what we say deviations from proper service. Some of them are aparadh, and some of them are just wrong ways of doing the right thing. There's a listing somewhere that gives what are seva aparadhs. I don't remember reading that list, at least from my own memory. But they tell you what the seva aparadhs are. You can look it up, seva aparadhs. It's mentioned somewhere in the Puranas, I think. Okay. All right, we can go on to the next one, which is called sakhyam. So the last two, sakhyam and Atmanivedanam, are on spontaneous devotional service. They're beyond the rules and regulations. The first 7 we can perform in rules and regulations. The last 2 are only done in Raganuga Bhakti, or sakhyam. In regard to worshipping the Lord as a friend, the Agastya Samhita states that a devotee engaged in performing devotional service by Shravanam and Kirtanam sometimes wants to see the Lord personally, and for this purpose he resides in the temple. Elsewhere there is a statement, "O my Lord, Supreme Personality and Eternal Friend, although you are full of bliss and knowledge, you have become the friend of the residents of Vrindavan. How fortunate are these devotees?" In this statement, the word friend is specifically used to indicate intense love. Friendship, therefore, is better than servitude. In the stage above Dasya Ras, the devotee accepts the personality of Godhead as a friend. This is not all astounding, for when a devotee is pure in heart, the opulence of his worship of the deity diminishes as spontaneous love for the personality of Godhead is manifested. So did you catch that one? The opulence of his worship of the deity diminishes, becomes less, as spontaneous love for the personality of Godhead is manifested. In this regard, Sridhar Swami mentions Sridham Vipra, who expressed to himself his feelings of obligation, thinking, life after life may I be connected with Krishna in this friendly attitude. Okay, so this is one of the rasas, or relationships with the Supreme Lord in the mood of friendship. So one can aspire for that, but one can only achieve that when they have made sufficient progress in the practice of devotional service. In other words, when they are fixed in Krishna consciousness and have developed an attraction for Krishna in the mood of friendship. People have, devotees can become attracted to Krishna in the mood of loving Krishna as a husband, the supreme male, or as a child, just like Bal Krishna, or as a parent who takes care of Krishna. These are the relationships that are manifested in a natural mood in the mood of Vrindavan. They're not there outside of Vrindavan. These are the Vrindavan moods. So one can aspire for loving Krishna in the mood of a particular relationship, but that mood will only manifest on a certain level of one's purification. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that real devotional service is spontaneous devotional service. Everyone must come to that stage in order to reach perfection in devotional service. And Rupa Goswami describes the 9 stages of bhakti, and as he describes, each stage is a higher stage than the previous one. So when one reaches the later stages of bhakti, such as ruchi, ashakti, bhava, and prema, these were where the devotee starts to aspire to Krishna in a certain mood. And then there is what is called Rupanuga or Raganuga sadhana. You actually perform sadhana in the mood of worshipping Krishna in that mood. And part of that sadhana is you follow in the footsteps of a resident of Vrindavan who has that same rasa. Therefore you choose a particular resident of Vrindavan who emulates that same service which you want to achieve, that same mood of service, and you worship that person, you pray to that person, you glorify that person, and by that person's grace, he also guides you in your sadhana. And so this comes in the later stages of bhakti. So this is on the spontaneous platform, but it's natural to be attracted in the later stages of bhakti to Krishna in a particular mood. Now a devotee, as he's developing this mood, does not make that mood public, keeps it in his heart and develops it in that way. He makes it public only to his spiritual master or someone who is accepted as a guide in his spiritual activities like that. So we can become a friend of Krishna. Prabhupada talks about that the cowherd boys, they're serving Krishna as friends. They sit with Krishna, they eat, they joke, they talk about different things, they play games together. It's like, it's like Krishna as a very intimate and friend. Just like there's one story where Krishna killed a big demon, really big demon. So all the cowherd boys were there and they saw, wow, that was a big demon. Wow, how did you do that? Krishna's quiet, he's not saying anything. And then one boy says, yeah, yesterday I stole your lunch and you started to cry. But I couldn't kill that demon. Another boy said, yeah, I was wrestling with you and I beat you yesterday. But I couldn't kill that demon. How'd you do that? Krishna is not saying anything. He's quiet. So they're starting to guess. And then one boy says, it's his mother. She gives him the power. She gives him a demon-killing mantra when he leaves the house every morning. And he chants that mantra. Another boy says, yeah, it's his mother, but it's not like that. He's got these armlets and amulets on his legs and arms, and in there are also special powers given to him by his mother. So that's how he does it. So they're all going back and forth guessing. Krishna's quiet, he's not saying anything. They're all trying to figure out how Krishna killed this demon, you know. So finally Krishna says something. You want to know? Yeah. They all get excited, they gather around. Krishna's going to tell us. Well, when I was born, there was a great sage. He came to see my father in a very secluded place, and he told my father something confidential. He said, this boy, your son, he is as good as Narayan. And then Krishna went on to say, but then he said, actually, this boy of yours is Narayan. And so if you want to know, I'm God. They're looking at each other and they're laughing. He thinks he's God now. And they're all laughing and laughing and laughing. They're slapping their legs and laughing, rolling on the ground. He thinks he's God. And then after a while, they all get up and Krishna says, all right, let's go play. All right, so they go back to playing. They don't care. They have that loving relationship as friends, and therefore, even if he tells them he's God, they don't want to believe it, or they don't care. Even if he is God, they don't care. It's more fun playing with him. So that's the mood of Vrindavan. It's equal, or sometimes even superior, where the friend will become a superior to Krishna and chastise Krishna as a friend, or do something in a superior role. So this is the mood of Vrindavan. This is one of the rasas to have a friendly relationship with Krishna. And Prabhupada said, if you practice devotional service, as is mentioned here, you can also aspire for being a friend of Krishna or one of the other rasas either. But that aspiration begins when one is fixed in devotional service. It's not done in the initial stages. One has to make progress towards being fixed in their service and in their sadhana. Okay, a little bit about friendship. Any questions, comments? You got a question? No? Be careful how you scratch your head, you know, it looks like, you know.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Actually, I wanted to ask that what is the definition of fixed up in devotional life? What is the meaning of becoming fixed up in devotional life? What are the symptoms? How we will understand?
Yeah,
it?
that means whatever's happened, you're not going to give up your service. Happiness comes, fine. Distress comes, fine. Reverses in life come, fine. You're still fixed. You're not moved by what happens.
Means in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna.
Even if you get sick, you're still fixed in your devotional service. Even if you lose everything you own, you're still fixed in devotionals. That's fixed. Fixed means I'm not going, no matter what happens, spiritually or materially.
That means in Bhagavad Gita 12.13 to 12.20, whatever symptoms Krishna says in devotee, we show all the symptoms, right?
There are different symptoms. Some of them are qualities and some of them are characteristics.
So all these are seen in us. So that is called fixed up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Like that. Which one do you like? Which quality or characteristic attracts you?
Sama sukha dukha kshami.
Huh?
Santushta satatam yogi, yatatma dhrudha nishchaya. Mayarpit manobuddhi, that one.
Intelligence.
Yes. Surrendering intelligence.
Surrendering your intelligence to Krishna.
It's transcendentally elude intelligence.
And then by surrendering your intelligence to Krishna, you get more intelligence.
Actually, yes.
Yeah. Nice, thank you. Yes, question.
Maharaj, over here in this 9 process of devotional service, sakhyam has been mentioned. Just technically, I just wanted to know it. Sakhyam has been mentioned, which is one of the mellows of devotional rasa, we say. Then why not other mellows like Vatsalya? Just it came in my mind.
Good question. It seems like there are 5, there's 5 rasas. And even in Vrindavan, neutrality is there. But that's not given. And then everything centers around dasya, our service, and they're serving in different ways. So when we get into the real personal relationships, it starts with sakhyam. And then higher than sakhyam, or more intensification of happiness, comes with vatsalya. And then that increases when it gets to madhurya. All of the intensification of loving feelings are manifested fully in the mood of madhurya ras. So, why only sakhyam? Good question. I can't give a good answer. All I can say is it seems like that's where the rasas start, on sakhyam, after dasyam. So the first one is mentioned, but that doesn't exclude the other ones also. But as a relationship, because friendship, to be friends with the Lord also says He's the best friend of all living entities. But He doesn't say, everybody's my father. He doesn't give that, that consideration to the other 2 rasas. It seems like the friendship thing is there. For every living entity, He says, Suhidam Sahridehinam. I am the friend of all living entities. So I'm just using philosophical speculation to try to understand it a little bit clearer. But you may ask that question again and see if you can find a more complete answer.
It makes sense, Maharaj, what you're saying to me. One more question I had. In unsteady devotional service to steady devotional service, when there's a transgression, when there's a transfer happens, in this steady devotional service, is just the act of devotional service is steady, or the consciousness also has to be steady?
Right. That's real steadiness. That's explained by the acharyas, that real steadiness is steadiness in consciousness, and not simply steadiness in activities. That's what steadiness actually means. Or nishta, yeah. Thank you. That's a good point for bringing now. That's a point that is not so much known by people who describe nishta. They think it's steady in activities, but it's actually steady in consciousness.
One more.
Yeah.
Maharaj, as we were talking about dasyam, the previous one, some devotees have a dutiful nature by its, by their upbringing. Some devotees have dutiful nature.
Yeah, they feel very responsible.
By their upbringing itself.
Yeah.
So they very naturally they perform seva, but they might not have consciousness of serving.
Right.
So how actually this service to service attitude, how it gets?
Well, because they have that, they're rightly situated. So then they have to understand by their own experience that it's not only about the activity, because Krishna ultimately doesn't need our service. In the material world, something is needed by the way of service. But with Krishna, he accepts our service, but he is accepting the consciousness that is the mood of the service. That's what he's accepting. So that they should be instructed in that way. That, yeah, you're doing service, and it's good, you have that attitude of service. But offer the service with a desire to please the Lord. And there's many people who do service, but they just do it very haphazardly, whimsically, or even mechanically. And there's not much benefit in that. Just like someone wants to build Krishna temple. So they have the money, they gather the resources and materials, they build a temple. But it's about them. They want to have a nice temple and worship the deity and be known as a great devotee of the Lord. It's not about Krishna. Krishna doesn't need the temple. He's got more temples in the spiritual world than we can count. So, but a person who is there washing pots and he's thinking, boy, I want to make these pots clean so when the devotees cook, they can cook really nicely for Krishna in clean pots. That's more pleasing than building a temple with the idea of getting some material benefit from that. Yeah. Question over here? No? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, after this sakhyam, there is Atmanivedanam. So Maharaj, when the example of gopis are given, it is said that they have given their bodies for Krishna. It means they have surrendered their bodies completely to Krishna. So is Madhurya Rasa part of Atmanivedanam, just like Prabhuji said about sakhyam?
Yeah. Complete surrender of everything is, was more or less included in. Yeah, Atmanivedanam is complete, yeah.
So the example of gopis is correct in case of Atmanivedanam?
Well, they've given everything. It says here in the translation, when we were reading the different angas, when we come to Atmanivedanam, it says, here in the word for word, it says, where is it said? Atmanivedanam is surrendering everything, and then it goes on to say, whatever one has. And then Prabhupada clarifies it, body, mind, words. That's complete surrender. Not simply giving, opulence, but everything. The mind is surrendered to the Lord. The body is surrendered to the Lord's service. The materials that we possess are used in the service. Everything. Manaso deho geho yo kichu more arpilun tu alpade Nanda Kishore. Nanda Kishore Krishna, my body, my words, my life, my family, everything, it all belongs to you. That's Bhaktivinoda Thakur singing like that. That's full surrender. Manuso deho geho. Okay, any other questions on Sakhyam? We're running out of time. It's almost time for ending. We haven't got to Atmanivedanam. And that's a long one. So I'm not in the mood of rushing through these just to get them done. But let's go for Atmanivedanam. The word Atmanivedanam refers to the stage at which one who has no motive other than to serve the Lord, surrenders everything to the Lord, and performs his activities only to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee is like a cow that is cared for by its master. When cared for by its master, a cow is not in anxiety over its maintenance. Such a cow is always devoted to its master, and it never acts independently, but only for the master's benefit. Some devotees therefore consider dedication of the body to the Lord to be Atmanivedanam, and as is stated in the book known as Bhakti Viveka, sometimes dedication to the Lord is called Atmanivedanam. The best example of Atmanivedanam are found in Bali Maharaj and Ambarish Maharaj. Atmanivedanam is also sometimes found in the behavior of Rukmini Devi at Dwarka, which is also Madhurya Ras. Okay, any questions about that one? As a cow is being cared for by its master completely and is willing to serve the master whatever way it can please the master. So when Lord Vamana came into the assembly of Bali Maharaj was inclined to give charity to the Brahmanas. Vamana Dev appeared as a dwarf Brahmana, and Bali was attracted to him, and immediately he wanted to offer something. He was dedicated to serving the Brahmanas. So he glorified the Lord in so many different ways. Whether he recognized the Lord or not, it doesn't say, but it seems like that he was very attracted to this personality. And then he said to Vamanadev, please ask for me any benediction I'm willing to give. Now, Bali had just conquered the three worlds. The demigods were defeated. They had ran from their kingdom because of the power of Bali. Bali was so powerful because he served his spiritual master, Sukracharya, so expertly that he received that tejas, that power. When one serves the spiritual master perfectly, they become very powerful. And so, when he was requested, the Lord said, I just give me 3 steps of land. Bali was insulted. He was thinking, 3 steps of land? I'm prepared to give you anything. Just ask for it. And the Lord was insistent. No, just 3 steps of land. And then the Lord said something for all of us. He said, if one is not satisfied with what they need, they'll never be satisfied. So he was teaching also. So he was insistent, but Sukracharya was also there. He was listening. He said, don't, this is Vishnu. He's going to take everything away from you. But Bali wasn't interested in hearing from his spiritual master because the Lord had appeared and requested. So Sukracharya was thinking, you can do some tricks that if you don't touch water and say mantras, then your promise really has no, effect. But he wasn't interested in reneging on his promise. So the Lord said, all right. He said, all right, take your 3 steps. But the Lord became Trivikram. And the first step he took was the lower and middle planets. And the second step, he took the higher planets. And there was nothing left. And he said to Bali, you have offered me 3 steps, and now you only gave me 2. So you're a thief. You're a cheater. The Lord started chastising him. You should be punished. Bali didn't know what to say. And then the Lord called for the ropes of Vashuki, which was this mystical snake, and he tied up Bali like an ordinary prison. And Bali was there, all tied up. Finally, at that point, Prahlad Maharaj walked into the assembly house. Now, Prahlad Maharaj is the grandfather of Bali. His father was Virochan. And when he saw his grandfather, he started offering respectful prayers, although being tied up to Prahlad. When he did that, something entered into his heart immediately, and then he understood, yes, my dear Lord, take your third step and put it on my head. In other words, I surrender everything. I surrender myself to you now. I had surrendered all of his possessions. Now he surrendered himself. So Bali became famous as for that person who is surrendered everything, including himself. And he became very dear to the Lord. He's also one of the Mahajan. Mahajano Yena Katasampanta. Bali Maharaj is also one of the Mahajan. He teaches the process of pure devotional service. So the Lord was so pleased with him that he gave him an opulent planet in the lower regions of the universe known as Sutala. And the Lord agreed to become his doorkeeper. So when Bali would go to his palace in Sutala, the Lord would be there to open the door for him. So that was his good fortune, that he was intelligent enough to understand, yes, my body also belongs to you, therefore I surrender that also. Yeah, because when we surrender, that's the last thing we want to surrender to. We'll surrender our whatever else we have, but we won't give our body. And that's the last one. Yes, my body belongs to you. And therefore you can use it in any way you want. That's complete surrender. So that's Atmanivedanam, and that's also on spontaneous devotional platform. Any other questions, comments on anything? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, in which stage, like in Akinchan stage or in Atmanivedan stage, our bhakti increase rapidly? If we are Akinchan, our bhakti increases, or if we...
What stage did we become a Kinchana?
In Akinchan stage, our bhakti increases rapidly, or in Atmanivedan stage?
It's not a stage, it's an anga of bhakti.
In which anga bhakti increases rapidly?
What stage of devotional service does Atmanivedanam?
My question is, if we are Akinchan, okay, there are two people, two devotees. One is Akinchan and one is Atmanivedan stage. Whose bhakti will be more? I just wanted to know this.
It doesn't matter. They're both surrendered. That's okay.
Because Kunti Maharani says that Krishna is Akinchana Vittaya.
So Kinchana also includes Atmanivedanam, right?
But he is made Akinchan by the Lord.
Not necessarily, by his own endeavor in Krishna consciousness. The prayers by Bhakti Vinod Thakur is, Manaso Deho Geho, everything belongs to you. Even my body, my words, my mind, my house, my wife, my children, my possession, it's all yours. I surrender it all to you. Belongs to you. So one who knows the truth understands nothing belongs to me anyway. So the idea of surrender is another illusion. One devotee came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I want to surrender everything. Prabhupada said, what do you have to surrender? Nothing belongs to you in the first place. The only idea you should understand is that you have to surrender the idea that you have something to surrender. That's your only idea.
That means Akinchan and Atmanivedana synonyms.
Don't get so much caught up in technicalities. Just take it as it is. Why you're trying to categorize everything.
And Maharaj, second question is how to surrender our heart to Krishna. Because it appears difficult.
Just don't give your heart to anybody else. That's all.
Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
Give your heart only to Krishna. And then if you give your heart to Krishna, you'll be happy in any relationship you have in this world, because Krishna is Mula, he's the root. Therefore, whatever relationship we want to establish in this world, if we have a loving relationship with Krishna, we'll automatically have a nice relationship, or even loving relationships with others, especially the devotees. Giving your heart to Krishna means, what is that heart? Heart means, really means your life. It's not that machine that pumps blood. My dear Lord, here, I'll take an operation and give you my heart. And the Lord will say, what am I going to do with this? Not like that. So it's the emotional body, because bhakti is emotion. It is pure emotion that's guided by truth, not by emotion. So giving your heart to Krishna means to love Krishna in one of the 5 rasas, as Madhurya, Vatsalya, Sakhyam, Dasyam, like that.
That means we have to dovetail all our feelings towards Krishna. We have to dovetail all our feelings towards Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Everything.
Yes, thank you.
We don't care what anybody else says, it's what Krishna says that matters. And if everyone says something that Krishna says, then that's important. But if they say something else, we don't care. Are you that surrendered?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, keep going.
Work in progress.
Right.
Maharaj.
Yeah, your bhakti is very strong.
Please pray for me, Maharaj. I need your blessings.
Yes.
Maharaj, unless and until one doesn't comes to Sakya stage, so is it allowed, or is it okay with that one shares his entire day that to the Lord, that this happens to me in the entire day, and you please help in this part of the area to improve myself. So is it not
surrendering all of your activities?
Not activities, like at the end of the day, we can just tell to Krishna that all this happened to me, and in this I need help in this part of.
Yeah.
So it is. But we are not reached the stage of sakhyam. So we should do like this, or.
That's nice. It's nice to reflect at the end of the day. What did I learn? What did I experience? What lessons did I, what did I offer to others? In other words, reflect on the day. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada talks about writing. Some devotees call it diary, others call it journaling. Keeping a diary. At the end of the day, just write down these experiences, realizations, something about the day's activities. And then you can, later on you can go back over and reflect on them and learn from them also. It's nice. It's recommended. Prabhupada said, every day you should write 2 lines, 4 lines, something about your realizations in Krishna consciousness. And then that helps you to, when you put it on paper, it becomes more a part of you. If you just think about it, it comes and goes. When you write it down, it stays with you. It's nice. We should do that every day. Write something.
If we have any friends in our friend circle, so we discuss with him very casually. So we should we have with awe and reverence not discussing, but telling to Krishna, or with just as a friend we should open up with Krishna.
Yeah, you can reveal your heart, but it's not like you reveal all the garbage, It's not dumping the garbage on Krishna. Well, you can tell him your struggles, and then ask him for his mercy to help you understand these struggles and how to benefit from them. Yeah. If we offer sincere prayers coming from our heart or mind, Krishna hears. And if it's sincere, and that's the most important part, it's serious, you'll get a response. Definitely, 100%, no doubt. But if you offer some words or some thoughts to Krishna and you're looking for a certain type of answer from that, you may be disappointed. You will be. So just offer it, and then as an offering to Krishna. And if it's done sincerely, you will gain from that, no doubt. You become more devoted, you become more detached, you become more intelligent. All of these things will come. Okay, question? Yeah. I think we have to make this the last question. Is there anyone else that has a question? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question is that, for example, if for a particular service there are multiple devotees competent enough to do one service, then what should be my mood in that situation? I mean, is it like I'm happy that even if it is being performed by some other, that Krishna's service is being done?
If you want to do a service, that's nice. But if someone else gets the opportunity to do that service, you should think, oh, well, that devotee is very fortunate. He got the chance. So let me think of other services I can do. There's competition also in spiritual life. Someone is serving nicely and you think, well, I'm going to serve better. That's not pride or false ego. It's something that is beneficial in the sense that if everyone is trying to do better than others and appreciating everyone else's service, who's benefiting? Krishna. So everyone's trying to compete to do better service to Krishna, and Krishna is the one that's getting all of the service. That's nice. But if someone is better than us, we shouldn't become unhappy or try to do something to make them less qualified. In other words, we shouldn't be envious. But in the spiritual world, the gopis are thinking, oh, that gopi served Krishna so nicely and Krishna was so pleased. I'm going to do better and serve Krishna, and Krishna will be pleased also. So there's no enmity, there's no envy, there's appreciation for others, but at the same time, there's competition. That's spiritual.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's nice. We should be like that. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, I had this question that many times in our stage it becomes very difficult to surrender to Krishna. For example, like we have succumbed to our shortcomings or anarthas. So instead of going to Krishna and humbling ourselves, like, yes, Krishna, I am having this shortcoming, and offering prayers to overcome that, we tend to, because of our false ego, distance ourselves, or we tend to not surrender. So how do we cultivate that surrender despite our shortcomings? Or in other words, I can say we run after perfection more than pleasing Krishna. So how do we come out of this and really surrender?
When you realize that by not surrendering, you're still going to have the same problem. You can get over the problems when you realize, I should do something. Instead of thinking, well, I have shortcomings, therefore if I don't surrender and keep my shortcomings, they'll go away. No, they'll become longcomings instead of shortcomings. So yeah, I mean, you correct a wrong attitude with a right attitude. That's all. you think, all right, let me do some surrender. It may be difficult, or I may not want to, or I think it's not necessary, but if I do it, it's like, they came up to me and said, today you can do 3 classes on the 3 ones, or 1 class is for all 3. So they gave me a choice. They didn't say you can't do anything. So, I had to surrender. But then I like surrendering, so it's fun. Surrender becomes fun the more you do it. When you resist, then each time something comes, it becomes harder to do. But every time you say yes, it becomes easier and more natural. Just Krishna is always there, and he's accepting our service. And that's the most important thing. Acha hai? Okay. Acha. Acha hai is different. Or we say tikacha? TK. Okay. Which one is tikacha or TK? Which one is better? Huh? TK. If you're in Bengal, then it's tikacha, right? Same thing. 1 and 1 is 2. No, 3 and 1 is 4. 2 and 2 is 4. Okay. Surrender to Krishna. Surrender sounds like a word like, oh, what am I giving up? You're giving up your false independence, that's all. If you don't surrender to Krishna, you have to surrender to his external energy, which is not so nice. The external energy says, oh, you're surrendering to me, very good. Come here and I will beat you up. Yeah. That's the surrender. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So we are very grateful to Maharaj for giving us these 9 processes of devotional service very nicely. Especially today, Maharaj spoke on these 3 aspects. So we are very grateful for giving us and clarifying all the questions and doubts. So let us express our gratitude by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. There is prasadam for all devotees. So prasadam, all devotees can honor prasad. And while on prasad, we can sit on the brown carpet, not on the red carpet. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Is there some water? Is there water in the cup? Just give me a little, not so much.
Can you check the temperature?
Okay. It's okay. It's good. Yeah, perfect. Good. That's it. That's nice.
Very wonderful class, Maharaj. I like the class.
Thank you.
All the 9 processes was eloquently.
You were there for all the classes? Yeah. Wow. Good. It's the first time I've ever done it.
It was beautiful, Maharaj.
I think I've done 1 or 2, but now all 9 of them I never.